Hey everyone, my name is Sharon and welcome to Being Transfigured. So, as you can see from the title, this is 4 groups of people you shouldn't discuss your marital issues with. So, just an FYI for your information, this video is not to bash anyone and to not say that another group is less important than the other. It's just wise counsel and something that I have implemented in my marriage. And so the first group of people that you shouldn't share your marital problems with are single people. Okay. And this is not to bash any single people, like I said. It's one of those things like where, let's say, if you want to go in a certain field, or if you want to be a millionaire, shall I say, just be generic. If you want to be a millionaire, who are you going to talk to? You're going to confide in people that are already up there and that are successful in their business in that field. So in the terms of marriage, you want to consult people that are successful in their marriage. So with single people, they haven't walked that walk in marriage. They haven't gone through trials and been tested in marriage, so they may advise you. I'm not saying not all single people, because I have got some single friends and they're very wise, but because they are basing their counsel off biblical counsel. So if you're going to single people that is not rooted in the Bible or in a Christian walk, then you are setting yourself up to fail. So this is not all single people, but I think for me, there are certain things you can discuss with them, but not anything very intimate, anything that is something that you can be ill-advised. So I would just say, with married people, if you value your marriage, just be careful on which single people you're dealing with, because some single people are bitter. Let's be honest. There's some people that are bitter because they haven't got a partner, and they may ill advise you. They'll give you advice that may then not go in your favor, and if you take their advice. So be very careful, be very prayerful in who you share your marital problems with. The other group is people that don't know you and your partner the same. So when you're going for counsel, if you're going through issues in your marriage, you want to go to someone, if you can't afford for therapy or things like that, you want to go to someone that knows both of you, that knows both your personalities, and that is not going to give you a biased opinion on what they think on the situation. Because if you just go to someone, let's say, that's known you only, they'll give you good advice. But if they know your partner, they can then ask questions like, okay, so what caused him to react like this? Because he doesn't really react like that usually. Or what caused her to react like that? And they can be that person that will kind of get you to also think about the situation, and maybe think, step back and say, oh, actually, you know what you just said, I can see now that was my fault. And because sometimes if you pick someone that is just who knows you only, you are going to get a response where you are going to be getting yes people, that whatever you tell that person, they're going to be saying, no, you're right, he's wrong or she's wrong for that. And they're not going to give you a real biased a real balanced answer or advice on how to move forward with that situation that you have brought to that person. So I hope you get me where I'm coming from. So and just like in, let's just say in court, the judge has to ask I don't know the technical words for the court stuff, but they have to hear both sides of the story for them to be able to make an accurate assessment on how they can move forward and who is going to win that case. So that is the same with marriage. If you have people that know both of you, they will be able to assess the situation for them to make an accurate assessment of the situation and come to an agreement, or come to a solution, a resolution on how both of you should move forward in that. So I think when you are going to ask for advice, don't go to the person that's going to tell you what you want to hear. Go to the person that's going to challenge you to think, because that person knows both of you. And that person is going to mean well for both of you. They're not going to want to see you separate. Because sometimes some people may, like I said with previously, will look at your marriage and they admire it. They admire how your partner treats you. And they may want to separate. I know it's hard to believe, but there are people in this world that see what you have and they want that, and they don't want to see you happy for whatever reason. Not that they hate you, but they probably have some internal issues of their own, and they want you to join that misery company and you can just wallow together. And the other group of people you shouldn't share your issues with, I would say, is family. So with family, I would say if you can stay clear from sharing your husband's faults, your wife's faults, don't do it. I say don't do it. The reason why is because if, let's say, a husband goes and tells his mom, my wife's like this, she doesn't do this, she doesn't do that, what do you think the mother's going to think? And vice versa. If a daughter goes to her parents and says, oh, he doesn't do this, he's like this, he does that, all those things might be true, but you have to think they are going to be then looking at your partner in the wrong light, and they're just going to be seeing his faults, but they're not going to be seeing how well he actually treats you in the other aspects. Because let's be honest, sometimes when our partners, we go through seasons where we're just constantly arguing and they're just getting on your nerves and you just want to vent. We all want to vent. And we then go tell our family. They are just going to be stewing on that, and then anything he does or she does, they're just going to be thinking, oh, they're just doing that, but I know, secretly know what you're like. But that's not how the person is. We don't know what was there behind closed doors, whether the argument was started by someone else or what caused the situation. And I think it makes the family resent that person. And then when, let's say, you guys make up, everything's all hunky-dory, it's like a bit awkward. There's a bit of tension, just to keep kind of from people from judging your partner in the wrong light, especially family, because you're close knit, you're going to be seeing each other at functions, they're going to be looking after your children or whatnot. Don't share your information with your family. And vice versa, some family may advise you from what they have gone through, and they will say, no, this is what I went through, I don't want it to turn out that way for you, so you better not tolerate this and blah blah blah. But that in actual fact, people are different. Yes, the situation might be similar, but people are different. I don't make a point now to tell my family about the things that we argue about, because I don't want them to look at him in a negative light, because those things that we argue about, every couple argues about them, and it's minor when you look back at it. It's just how you move forward. And sometimes you don't want to get family want the best for you, and they're going to say, no, that's not good for you, you shouldn't tolerate that, and because they want what's best for you. However, in relationships, everybody has fault. I have faults, my husband has fault, everyone around us that's married have their own faults. So it's just about working together and realizing that, okay, we're not perfect, but the foundations are there. Do we love each other? Do we respect each other? Do we care for each other? Other group of people was, like I said, all of these are not, it's not a dig in any way. Do not share your most intimate things, marital issues, with people that are divorced. Okay. And this is not to shame anyone, all right? But like I said, with the single people, you have to look at the person as well, because there's some people that divorce and it's like, oh, whatever, where they just divorce out of irreconcilable differences, and then they get married again, divorce again, and then married again, divorce again, married again, divorce again, and they're on the sixth marriage. All right, so those are the kind of things I'm saying, where you can see there's a pattern where there wasn't any value in, they don't see the value in marriage. So that because for me, that shows that they haven't learned how to properly communicate in relationships, marriage. Or do you know what? It might be just bad luck that they're just marrying the wrong people. However, I feel with marriage, we say for better or for worse, for rich or for poor. all of that should be, whatever is worse, we should try and endure it, obviously with reason. Let's not come in the comments and say, well, what about this, what about this? We all know, okay? But I think when you see that with someone, we see that on in the media, like that person's on the fifth, sixth, seventh marriage already. So those are the kind of scenarios I'm talking about, where if you're going through something, maybe just try and steer clear from sharing information with that person, because the advice you're going to get is you don't need that, plenty more fish in the sea, get on. But sometimes we don't think about the implications of telling someone to just leave. It's like there's the children, there's, yeah, what's it going to do to you mentally and emotionally? I know there are cases where people have to leave. I know, I'm not saying I'm not that, but I don't that is not the first thing I'll tell someone to do, is get divorced. And even that, I will not tell anyone to get divorced. I will say separate for a while, see how things are when you're separated, and then make a decision after that. But I will not say divorce. That's someone's personal decision. But in terms of sharing with divorced people, it's the same thing, where you might get information or advice from their own experience. So they'll say, well, I did this because this happened. They will not be advising you from a place of your situation. So they'll be advising you from their pain, from their hurt, what they've experienced. And there's nothing wrong with sharing your experience, because you want someone, if you're going to someone, okay, let me say this, you want someone that has grinded, that has done the long suffering, that has gone through things in their marriage, and they say, you know what, this was a challenge, but we worked through it. We got counseling, we got the right people around us, we prayed. You want that kind of advice. And for me, when someone just tells me to just be like, you don't need that, for me, that's a red flag. You have to remember, with your partner, they have, just like you, they're coming from a different background, they have different childhood upbringings. We don't know what's happened to them when they were younger, we don't know what's happened to them as they were growing up. And it's about being patient with each other and learning each other, and in that learning you will understand how they work, just the same way as you go to work, you understand, the longer you stay there, you understand how your boss works. You understand, if you do this, your boss is going to get mad, so you have to not do that. So it's the same thing with your partner, is if you know that they're going to shut down when you shout, then maybe try and tone it down a bit, so that they are a bit more open. And you know that if your partner needs to talk, and you're not a talker, try and talk to your partner. I think we just need to learn our partners and try and change and be selfless in relationships, and consider the other person, how they would feel with you doing what you're doing. There's 4 groups, but that I just thought of, but I just think in all of this, you just have to have discernment on who it is that you share your information with. Like I said, you could share information with a divorced person, with the family, with whatever. You may get amazing advice, and that's where discernment comes. You have to look at the person's fruit. I value marriage now, and I can tell you right now, I never did before, and I made all of these mistakes before, where I used to share my little arguments with like work colleagues and people here and there, and that didn't have any business in knowing my issues. And in all of that, my marriage was the one that almost suffered, because I was taking advice from people that didn't have any business being in my business. I should have just stuck with 1 or 2 people that I knew and trusted, and I probably would have saved myself a lot of heartache. And especially when you're in a vulnerable place, guys, when you're in a very vulnerable place, you are such an easy target. You're an easy target. People will just tell you things, and some of them might not even be malicious. Let me just say that. Some people might just advise you just what they think, just to try and make you feel better. But then you'll take that advice because you're in a vulnerable place and you think that might work. But and then you end up taking that advice, and then you end up in the wrong place. And we have to then take accountability for that, because no one held a gun to my head or to anyone's head to say, take my advice. It's because we were just immature, and we were seeking yes people to just validate our feelings. Put in the comments below if there's any other people that you think you should share your information with, or should you even share your information, your marital problems with people, you know. And I just pray that if any of you are going through anything of that sort of marriage breakdown or relationship breakdown, or just not getting that result that you envisioned of your marriage, I just pray that God reveals to you what you need to do in this season. And also, sometimes in marriages we are very quick to try and blame the other person. But what I want to say sometimes is, if you keep seeing you're going through this thing constantly, having arguments about the same thing all the time, just take a pause and just say, God, is it me? Am I the one that's causing these issues? Because sometimes we might be the one that are trying to either control it, but God wants to be in control of that situation, and you are constantly going to be dealing with the same thing. And ask for guidance, ask for direction in your situation, in your marriage. And don't look at other marriages. That's another thing. Don't look at other marriages as well, because they're dealing with other things. Like I just told you, we go through things as well, but people see the outside and think, oh, everything's perfect. But no, we go through things as well. But don't look at other people. Don't look at how they are externally. But one thing I just say, sit with God however long he needs you to sit with him, and honestly, he will guide you and he will show you how to go through this a challenging time of relationship breakdown or just not getting along. And I just want to assure you that just because you're going through something, don't think you're the only one that's going through it. A lot of people, a lot of married people go through challenging seasons. Okay guys, I'm just back up in my apartment, but another group of people that I actually just thought of right now, and I kind of touched on it at the end of the video. But another group of people you shouldn't share your marital issues with is work colleagues. So this one is a bit obvious, because these are your work colleagues. You work with them, you do business together. They have no business in being in your marriage issues. This is I guess this is just a given, but like I said, when I was young and naive, you work with these people 24/7, and they kind of become like family, as we say, but they don't really know you like that. They don't know your partner like that. You just see each other in the work space. And we don't really know their true values. You don't really know someone just because you work with them. You need to see someone outside of work and all of that. So like, it's the same thing. We don't know their intentions. We don't know if they're going to give you wise counsel. We don't know anything. And frankly, it's none of their business what goes on in your marital home, in your marriage, and what with your kids, or anything in that matter. What you need to just focus on is work. Do your work. Be kind. Be courteous. Because we can get so caught up in this, trying to share and trying to be part of something. Like, oh, everyone's talking about their husbands. Oh, Jeff did this. Oh, Tom did this. Karen did this last night. She annoyed me. Billy said this to me, and I'm so annoyed with him. He's gonna be in the doghouse, that kind of thing. And then we can get caught up in that kind of hype of, yeah, my husband did this, and I don't think that's right. And you can get kind of in this place where you trauma bond, especially if someone's going through the same thing as you, and you think, oh, she knows exactly how I feel. So then you trauma bond, and then you may then ill-advise each other or get misinformed about something. So I think just keep it to yourself. Deal with it by yourself, with you and your partner and those closest to you. And I'm just very privileged to have, people that are close to me. I have all those groups. I have divorced people. I have single people in my life. I'm very grateful that those people mean well for us. So that's all I just want you guys to. And there was a point where where I knew I was in the wrong, and I wouldn't go to those people because I knew they would tell me the opposite of what I want to hear, if you know what I mean. But as I've grown, as I've matured, those are my go-to people. and I know they will advise me accordingly. So yeah, I just wanted to put that one there in for you. All right, take care.